All right, everybody. I'd like to welcome a good friend of mine, Eric Dingler, in Transit Studios. I've been following Eric for a good long while. He's been a member of some of our programs, and I think that there's something really interesting about his background and story that I wanted to shine the light on today. Eric has been traveling around the world as a digital nomad, not just with himself, but with his wife and kids, exploring what this world has to offer while also operating his digital marketing agency and doing it. I know that I've had a ton of questions for him about how he does it, why he does it, and how to actually make that work. And I'd love just to invite him in here today to share with you a little bit about his story, not just about the digital nomad lifestyle that he lives, but all the amazing things he does as a digital marketer and the clients that he serves. So Eric, thanks so much for jumping in here with me today.
Hey, no problem. I'm one of my favorite topics to talk about, so.
Of course. Man, I'd love to start with just sharing a little bit about your background and kind of how you became a digital nomad.
My wife and I, we were just talking and wrestling with the concept of we were going down the path of the typical American dream and doing what everybody expected us to be doing, but we never intentionally made the decision that we were going to do that. It's just, we were just going with the flow. And we were about to buy a house, and our kids were starting to get into more activities and stuff. And then we realized, like, we would have, conversations with people and just hear about the stress that they had and constantly running to this and doing this and all of these different things. And we were like, let's just make sure this is what we want. We're not saying that's bad. We don't have any problem with people that live their life that way. We don't think our lifestyle is better or anything like that. We just said, we just want to be intentional. And we realized that that's not the lifestyle we wanted for us and our kids. And we realized that we only have so many weekends with our kids until they move out, and we wanted to get the most out of those. And so that kind of started the process of us heading into becoming full-time digital nomads.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think what a lot of people can relate to with what you just said is the idea that when you start a business in general, whether it be a digital marketing agency or something else, we get to design how it works, right? I think the fact of starting a business is something that's very different than a lot of people in the world. Most people in the world are not entrepreneurs. Most people in the world are not business owners. But when we make the choice to do that, we get to be in control over how our businesses work, what services we offer, what clients we go after, what we charge, whether we hire a team or not. And but it seems like you've taken that to another level, not just about how designing your business, but how your whole lifestyle really revolves around that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and again, it's just a matter of taking a few minutes to have the conversation and think through, like, wait a minute, is my life heading in the direction? Did I choose this? Am I choosing my future? Or am I just suddenly going to be there one day? And probably part of it plays into the play a little bit. So I am a pastor also, and we planted a church, and my wife and I both have this little small dash tattoo on our right hands. And a lot of people think we've marked it with ink. I tell people I was going to get a whole sleeve tattoo, but it hurt too bad, so I stopped. No, but the idea of the dash tattoo is it comes from a book, Learn to Live Like You Were Dying. And it was written by a pastor who was having the same experience I was as a pastor, where I would be sitting with someone in hospice care, and I've sat with a number of people in hospice care and in the last moments of life, and leading up to that, you hear the exact same things, and for the most part, it's regrets of the way they spent their time, and the idea behind the dash is we're all living our dash. One day, you're going to have a tombstone, and there's going to be a birth date and a death date, and in between will be the dash. And what you control is that dash. And now, you don't know where you are in it. I'm 47. I may be middle age. Unless I die of a heart attack at 52, I'm an old man. So we, about 12 years ago, got our dash tattoos, and from that, we've just tried to live our lives making the most of our dash and constantly asking, are we making the most of our dash? Are we living our best life? And that led us through the path of wanting to adopt So we have 4 children, 2 bio, 2 adopted. Through the adoption process, we realized that we wanted to help other people with their adoption. So we started a nonprofit. I am terrible at fundraising, but I realized I think I can build a business that funds the nonprofit. And so that then led us into doing a business that was just going to be a side hustle. I was just going to build websites. I built websites on the side to fund our adoption. I remember the first time some schmuck agreed to pay me $300 for a website. I thought he was the biggest fool in the world. Now I can't even imagine. I can't imagine building a website for only $300. It was just going to be a side hustle, and then opportunities open, doors open, and we decided to make it full time. And we installed a new senior pastor at the church we planted, and we were just going to serve there then, and build this business and fund our nonprofit. And then through that, then we started realizing, well, wait a second, we can do this from anywhere. We can be location independent. So if we wanted to, since we can move anywhere, where would we want to move? And then the list got longer and longer of places, and then we just realized, let's just go to all of them. So that's what we're doing.
So give me a quick summary. Where are all the places you've been so far?
Well, in the last 13 months, we've been to Istanbul, Turkey, Prague, Czech Republic, a couple different cities in Poland. When we were in Poland, the Ukraine war broke out. And so we were there and leveraged our nonprofit and did some hands and feet work with some, refugees from Ukraine. And, our kids, our kids are 10, 12, 14, 15. And, so they got to see the impact of this war on people and orphans and stuff like that. And we had just gone to Auschwitz, and, wow. Our kids were connecting dots, and it was just a phenomenal experience. So we were in Poland, and then we went to France, went to England. We've been to both France and England a few times. We love those places. And then Peru, and we're currently in Mexico City. We've been to Bulgaria. We love Bulgaria. It's one of our favorite places. So we've got to see quite a bit. But even all of that, that's only 3% of the country. So we have a lot to go yet.
That's fantastic. So what would you say your biggest challenge was in making this transition from, maybe about to buy a house to throwing that idea out and taking the whole family digital?
The grandparents. The grandparents and friends and family's reaction. It's so... In Europe, when we're in Europe and we meet somebody and we're like, we're digital nomads, they go, do you have an Instagram? Like, that's just the question. So much so to the point that my wife and I, our phones for the longest time, the home screen was just a QR code of our Instagram. And so that's there. But outside of Europe and some specific places in Asia, but in the Americas, the idea of digital nomad is strange to people. So that was the biggest challenge, overcoming people's objections and questions. And I think people thought we were in some way judging their choice, their lifestyle. And that's not the case at all.
So, you were operating your digital marketing agency, before you went traveling around the world. Like, what did you, like, when I think about that, the objections that come up in my mind is like, how do you continue to find clients? Like, yes, there's the Zoom, but like, what if you have to meet with a client face to face, or like, is it really possible to do this in a way that I can continue to sell and grow my agency, and not have a stable business presence, right? Those are the objections that come in my mind. And how did you overcome that?
With you. So it's interesting you have those objections, but with those objections, you also have the answers. One thing that you talk about a lot is having an abundance mindset. And you get to create your business. So if somebody's like, and we've had a couple people go, we had one guy not too long ago was like, I just don't know if I can work with you because you're a digital nomad. Bye. Like, okay, like you have to have an abundance mindset. 250,000 new websites go online every day. there's plenty of opportunity out there for us. And so it's just that here's who we are. And so you just realize that you don't get to work with some clients potentially because of that, but you also realize that you're not geographically bound. I have clients coast to coast, in lots of different states. And so it really actually opened up my client pool because for a while I was thinking it was just going to be like, the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, but now I'm just comfortable working with everybody. And I think the pandemic played into, like, people are just used to meeting now on Zoom. So that's fine. So we just don't do in-person meetings. And then just having that abundance mindset, like, there's going to be plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, there's lots of business out there, and we even saw this in our own agency that we had a lot of face-to-face meetings prior to the pandemic, though we were selling through Zoom already. But after the pandemic, the vast majority of our meetings shifted to Zoom, and I think that at least there's a lot of people that might give more credit to a physical location than it really deserves. That this really can be done from anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple things we do to help with some of that. Like, we belong to 2 local business associations in Norfolk, and we talk about those. And so when I do like our webinar and I introduce the the part the hey, who am I, or when we present our primary sales document, the playbook, our proposal. The first couple parts of that are a little bit about who we are. And we talk about the fact that we belong to the Ocean View Business Association and the Ghent Business Association. I'm a former commissioner for the city of Norfolk and stuff like that. So we still have those rooted connections, and I think that helps people feel like, okay, that's good. And I still have I keep my business license in Norfolk, and I wouldn't have to do that now, but I do, to help people have that sense of stability, because a lot of people don't want to hire somebody, off, out of the country, because they're afraid of, who are they actually getting? Is there, anything like so?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think for example, the one person that said they didn't want to work with you, like, I think that the fear that somebody like that would have is, who are you? Are you reliable? Like, it is somewhat out of the ordinary for someone to hire someone like this potentially. So I think that creating those hooks into a locality, even if it's not their local area, right? That they can kind of picture you as, hey, this is just a family. This is just a guy who is currently traveling the world, and I don't really care where he is, but he has some sort of common culture or connection to something that I understand as someone who might hire you. So that's a really clever way of handling it, I think.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm not even sure everybody knows at first that we're digital nomads.
Yeah. So are people asking you? Are you very forthcoming with that, or is it something that is like comes later in the conversation?
No, we find it. Actually, I don't mind bringing it up. I don't say I intentionally do. I did start not too long ago I changed the intro to our webinar to just explain that my family and I, we're full-time digital nomads currently in, Mexico City or wherever we're at. Because one of the things that we have found is people are intrigued, and we start getting a lot of prospects, following our family's personal Instagram. We're the Family of Dashes. Family of Dashes is our Instagram. And we have people following the story, and they're inspired by it or excited about it, and it goes kind of, I think, to building some relationship. Again, that's not going to be for everybody. Some people are going to be turned off by that. But again, I want to work with people that want to work with me. And so it goes back to that. You have to have an abundance mindset.
So how do you go about, you mentioned the webinar, and maybe this is something you want to touch on, but how do you go about getting clients when you're not in the same area as the people that you're serving?
Yeah, so luckily, because of the fact we have clients a lot of places, we still have, the referral and the word of mouth. We ask people, we're regularly getting reviews from people from their place. And then we're just asking people, hey, do you know somebody we should know? Or, giving people permission to introduce us to folks. But then the main thing is running a Facebook ad to an email magnet. I bought from this, amazing place called Agency Coach. It was kind of crazy. But just implementing that and bringing people into our ecosystem and starting to send them regular weekly emails, building that relationship, helping them get past the trust tipping point. It's really everything that we do with our clients. We're just doing it the same thing in our business, having a solid foundation, going after the active searchers. We still run local SEO for the geographic area of Norfolk, Virginia. Because why not? I don't have a national SEO strategy. I still keep a local, hyper-focused SEO strategy, because as I'm a member of these business associations and showing up at meetings on Zoom, or leading webinars and stuff like that in that area, even though I'm not physically there, our brand is becoming known as the leader as an authority in the industry, as an authority in digital marketing and website in that geographic location. Even though I'm not physically present, it hasn't hurt us at all. So the email magnets, and then just nurturing and then doing the webinar and building relationships with people. It's just about doing the same thing over and over, just repeating it, which is hard for me, to be honest. But it's because every time I get out of the cycle, I just saw something yesterday about the entrepreneurial cycle. I had never seen it before, but it's something about learning, implementing, success, complacency. And then when you get to complacency, things start to fall off. And so you go back into then learning, implementation, success, complacency. And it's the whole idea of once you know this cycle, how do you avoid that? And that's a lesson I'm just learning now. I feel like, in the last, 18 months since I've been doing stuff with Agency Coach, I'm on my third reboot, because I've gotten complacent. And I'm like, oh, this is just working, and then I stopped putting the energy in on the front end. And then a couple months later, the trickle effect is I'm not getting the results on the output. I'm not doing I'm not presenting as many playbooks. So it's just a matter of sticking with it and being consistent.
Yeah, I can relate to that, because I think what I've seen in my own experience is I'll have success with something, and then, like you say, we get complacent. And for a long period, I thought it was my job. I'm like, I just got to be better. I got to go back and do the thing that was working before. And I think the better question to ask is, why did I stop doing it? Was it just that I got lazy, or was it there was something that wasn't fulfilling in it anymore? And that was what kind of clued me in to understand that those become signals for us to understand that maybe this is something we need to hand off. Maybe this is a system we need to give to someone else. For many, many years in my agency, I was the only one that was selling and only one that could sell projects for the dollar amount that I thought, the right dollar amount. And I think that when I got lazy and sales stopped happening, it wasn't that I was really being lazy, it was that it wasn't really my job to handle that stuff anymore. So who are the people, or what are the systems, or how can I put in a system in place to make sure that this thing keeps happening even when I'm no longer interested in that? Because I think as entrepreneurs, we are constantly excited about new things. We're constantly excited about creating new opportunities. And if we're having to constantly go back and doing the same old thing, that's where we get bored, and then things kind of fall apart.
So I think it's a matter of for me, I'm going to have to really pay attention to that point because I'm now aware of this idea. It's just kind of a new concept that I've just become aware of lately. And I'm like, okay, I need to start paying attention to when I get to that point to figure out, okay, what is this? Is it, what do I need to hand off at this point so I can skip complacency and go back into learning and implementation? And then I think that's, what I really just need to be more mindful of this time.
So when it comes to communication with your clients or team members, how do you handle that remotely? And what does that workflow look like for you right now?
Sure. So one of the biggest lessons we learned was at the beginning of our journey, we left America and we went all the way over to Istanbul, Turkey. And that was a mistake. We were too far out of time zone sync with our clients. So that's why we're back in the Americas, and we plan to be in, the Americas, Central America, South America, probably for the rest of this year, until I am to the point where I can bring on a full-time person in the States or in the Americas to be in sync in the time zone. So that was a big lesson for me. Some digital nomads, they just adjust. They just work evenings. I don't want to do that. We have 4 kids, we're still like a lot of digital nomads that are single. It's easier for them to do that. And so they'll adjust, or they'll just change their work hours and work from 12 a.m. to, 8 a.m. so they can be in, the Philippines or Vietnam, which is an amazing location for digital nomads. That's not going to work for me as a family. So that was a lesson we learned we did a test trip. And so that was a lesson we learned. So now with clients, it's a lot of Zoom, and just, email communication, being proactive on that. So we're constantly talking about that as a team. And then as a team, we have a Monday morning, we call it sync meeting. It's every Monday morning. And so we have that via Zoom. And then we use an app called Marco Polo. And everybody on the team has to do a daily check-in. In Marco Polo, they can send a real quick video question. I can just, send a real quick video. So it's like text messaging, but in video format. So those are the tools we use. We use a lot of Zoom and a lot of Loom.
Do you think that the team, because the team is obviously not where you're at, so where are they, and are they in the same time zones, and what does that look like for you right
now? Bulgaria and India right now are our team. Now we have fulfillment partners in the United States. So we have some fulfillment partners in the United States that aren't doing direct client communication though. So that's our team. So when we went to hire our tech support for our clients on our maintenance care plan, and we knew we were going to hire, probably from India, we just put in the job description that you are expected to check email at 9 o'clock. I think it's 9 a.m., 11, 2, and 4 Eastern Standard Time in the United States. You have to do that. So that they knew coming into this that they were going to have to work nights. I think that's fine, and so they work nights. Peter in Bulgaria is our director of web services. Right now, he prefers to work whenever I'm working. So he adjusts his work schedule wherever I am in the world. This guy's amazing. I tell people, Peter is so dedicated. His name was Petar, Petar, and he legally had his name changed last year to Peter, so it was more friendly to America. Literally had his name. I told Marissa, I was like, this guy's going to work for us forever. He's. Oh
my gosh! Wow.
That's dedicated. So anytime it's I have a really dedicated team. I'm like, really? Has any of them legally changed their name for you? Huh? I don't think so. So, but he's just awesome, and he prefers to work that way. In the future, him and his wife, if when they have kids, that may change, and that's going to be okay. But right now, that's just kind of how it works. And then, like I said, for right now, I need to be in Eastern Central time zone because 90% of our clients are Eastern and Central time.
Yeah, I think it's really an important takeaway that you've been really intentional about the time zones and making it work for you. As evidence of committing to be in the Americas, to be in that time zone, I think is huge. But then just having the conversations with your team around what's expected, because I think it's a big world out there, and there are people that are willing to work in the style and the format that you want. You just have to communicate what it is you want, so that you can attract those right team members.
You put it in the position description. It's just an expectation. And if they don't want that, then they won't apply. But there are a billion people in the world. You'll find somebody.
So I think one of the biggest testaments to this working out over this last year that you've been been traveling, or is seeing the success and the growth of your business. And so, can you share? Because I imagine some of the people listening say, "This is great, but I must have to sacrifice my business growth in order to do this." And from what I've heard, that's not been true.
That has not been true. And there's a couple additional benefits to it. Actually, we needed less money to live this way than when we lived in the United States because of the power of the dollar. All of our business is done in USD. And so then when we bring home our owner's pay and then we spend it in local currency, it goes a lot further. We brought in 8% fewer clients than we did in the year before, but our clients come in at a higher price ticket now. So we actually need less clients to make more money because we've been able to raise our rates because our quality's improved, our confidence is improved, using fulfillment partners, just using one of the things that you teach is the 5 moves formula. We're looking at that, each quarter and making adjustments and just making small incremental changes makes a big difference. And for me, the nice thing is I can say the biggest change has been we did see a significant drop in new website builds. We were building, we were launching 3-4 websites a month. And that has dropped to probably now like 1 a month. But we've gone from a $3,000, website to a $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 website. But where we've seen our growth is in the digital marketing stuff, on the digital marketing side, SEO, pay-per-click, stuff like that. Review lead has been our biggest.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think also what's been cool to see with you is, you've gone back to your clients again and again to expand the contract set they're on. I remember a couple of times, or at least once, you mentioned to me, you're like, "Mike, all right, I went to all my clients, I sold them what I have. Now what do I do?" And I'm like, well, let's look at this. Is this true? And I think we proved that wasn't true, right?
Yeah. There's gold in the backyard, I think is how you said, or diamonds in the backyard or something like that one time. But yeah, it's amazing. We've intentionally moved to having regular strategy sessions and being proactive. That's been the big thing. Instead of waiting for a client to reach out to us, we've been reaching out to clients and say, "Hey, it's time for your, quarterly strategy session." Some clients pay us to remind them once every 3 months. I hope none of my clients watch this. But they pay us to remind them every 3 months to jump on the call and have a strategy session, which is an opportunity for me to re-show them our services menu. And then other clients, we just reach out and just say, "Oh, it's time for your annual, strategy session." And that's not like official thing. We just started saying it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, let's do that." And that's been great. And so I stopped running Facebook ads for probably about 9 months last year. I've just started rerunning my Facebook ads at the beginning of January because we were too busy upselling our current client base. We just didn't need to bring people into the pipeline.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that a lot of people assume, that they always have to get new leads, when the truth is that there are people in your world, clients that you may already have, that you can just continue to service and expand the contracts you have with them. Don't get me wrong, more leads is great, but it's oftentimes not the first place that I think a lot of agencies should look.
Yeah, especially, so, for me, I had been just doing web design. And I think that if somebody likes building websites, and they want to build websites, and they want to have, a couple of people that help them, a couple of freelancers that help with this or that, I think a person can very comfortably, bring in the United States $150,000, $180,000 a year as a web designer, building the websites, and then having people just help do some of the routine stuff. I see that, and that's very, very doable for people. And so when I talk to folks, I'm like, if that's your dream, that's great. Like the guy I bought, so I started my own business but then I bought another book of clients from somebody. That's all he ever wanted. And he was very, very happy with that. Mm-hmm. We have a different why. My wife and I, we want to get to the point where we're able to put $1 million a year into our nonprofit. I can't build enough websites to do that by myself. There's no way. And so I needed to figure out a way, well, how can I go from a comfortable, $150,000, $180,000 a year and really scale beyond that? And the answer was starting a digital marketing division. But it was adding the digital marketing services.
Right. Yeah. You took advantage of what I think is one of the biggest opportunities for web designers, which is adding in recurring revenue services that fall into the digital marketing space. And I think there's a hesitancy by some of them saying, hey, no, I identify as this web designer and that's what I do. And I don't know this other stuff. But you've proven that there's a pathway to that and bringing on fulfillment partners to help with some of those things that has really allowed you to scale your recurring revenue that and you can more or less set your watch by it, what you're going to make and really build a sustainable business that's worth something.
And with it, the nice thing is we sell a lot of Review Lead. I have never once onboarded a client to it. I don't even know how to do it. Like if somebody asks me a question, I'm having to reach out and ask Craig or Polina on my team that I have no idea. Pay-per-click, I do not have the first clue on how to run pay-per-click, no idea. Facebook ads, I thought, well, I can figure this out. After paying people to do BR fulfillment, I went in and tried to make a change and royally screwed up my Facebook and got my page suspended from running ads, and I'm having to start all over rebuilding my page and stuff like that. And I should have just reached out to our fulfillment partner and just had them do it. But I went a little maverick and messed things up. So yeah, you're right. You don't need to know how to do those things. That's the great part. That's probably one of the greatest benefits I didn't expect when I signed up with Agency Coach. I signed up with Agency Coach because I wanted the playbook and I wanted to start using it tomorrow, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time in Canva. And I thought, I'll just get this. I didn't realize it was going to come with all of the extra benefits that just blew my mind, like the relationship with the fulfillment partners and the training and the community and all of that. So it was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I think we just need to take a lesson from some of the biggest and most successful businesses in the world. Apple does not, make all the components inside of their iPhone, right? The realtor that you buy your house through doesn't build the house that you just bought, right? They all use other people and other services to come together and do this. Yeah, I think a lot of agency owners and freelancers kind of take on the identity of, I must have to do all the work myself. And I think that's what's been really cool to see about your progress through this is you had these basic clients, they needed more services. Yes, you could have learned these things, but you shortcutted it by bringing in the right people. And I think not only is your success inside of your recurring revenue a testament to that, but also the satisfaction of your clients. That you can have clients that are happy to pay you money and allow you to have other people on your team or even other people that are not on your team that you delegate this work to do the fulfillment, which is really cool.
Yeah. And there's plenty of, I know, because I know a lot of people I talk, they're like, oh yeah, but I'll have to have so many of that to even make enough money. No, there's a significant profit margin. And trust me, I talk to my clients about their profit margins and, lifetime value of clients and stuff like that. Like that's part in the initial discussion. Like we get into some of those conversations because I need to know, I was talking to a guy the other day that has a lawn service, and he's only getting like $65 to mow a yard. And they have a very short season. They're very far north. They have a very short season. It's only like 2 months. So he's only mowing a yard for somebody 6 times. Well, you don't have a lot of profit margin per customer to work with in your lead gen. So we gotta structure your plan accordingly. So I understand that my profit margins are way higher than most of my clients.
So as we kind of wrap up here today, Eric, I'd love if you share any tips or advice you'd have for someone that is looking to grow their agency, looking to create more than what they've got today, and maybe some tips for those that are looking to even do that in a way that involves being a digital nomad or even just traveling more than they currently are.
I would say get a coach would be the first thing, and then if nothing else, add review. If you're building websites, add review lead. If you're doing review lead, probably start adding websites. The two just go together so well.
Right. And for those that are listening that don't know what review lead is, like it's offering review and reputation management to your clients, and it's one of those things that if you're looking to add recurring revenue into your agency in a way that it creates awesome results for clients, that doesn't require a huge learning curve. It's one of the most amazing things to add, but also becomes an amazing foot in the door with people that you're not working with.
The other thing I tell people all the time is there's no money hiding behind your desk. Like, you can sit behind your desk all you want, and you're not going to find any more money there. You got to be out there digitally or in person. I'm out there digitally, building relationships and connecting with people. I used to do it in person at networking events. I'm having just as well of success doing it completely digitally as I did when I was out there going to networking meetings and stuff like that.
Well, Eric, thanks so much for sharing your story. I just think it's really inspiring to see how you guys have successfully grown the business in your time being digital nomads. And I'm just really excited to see where you guys take it next.